In sweltering heat of the Pennsylvania summer, 55 men sat debating for months on end, all to do one thing: change the way the United States government functioned. During the Constitutional Convention of 1787, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and Alexander Hamilton, along with 55 delegates at the Independence Hall in Pennsylvania, were in a very crucial conflict. They had two plans of government that conflicted on the number of representatives each state had in Congress. The states with a high population wanted the Virginia plan, giving them more power. But the less populous states wanted the New Jersey plan, which gave the small states more power. However, the compromise that settled the long-lasting debate is paramount for the success of the United States of America. It is the year 1787. The Articles of Confederation, a document written during the Revolutionary War, had a government that had been ruling the United States for 6 years at this time. Many important matters were left for the states to decide, not the national government, because of this poorly written document.
The Articles of Confederation were put together during the American Revolution, the period of the American Revolution. In fact, it took a long time to work them out because there were disagreements between the states as to the disposition of western lands and to how much sovereignty the states would retain. And as I'm sure you know, when they finally were ratified, I think it was in 1783, they really constructed a kind of United Nations rather than a sovereign government. You know, it was billed, the article said it was a league of the states.
For instance, the states were the ones who received taxes. The states managed international trade individually, not as a country. Even the currency of each state varied. Many citizens were indebted. The nation was struggling to pay off the national debt incurred for the new nation. This entailed to a government loosely kept together. The states realized that the Articles of Confederation did not provide a sturdy government that helped the country thrive. 12 states sent delegates to Philadelphia. The idea was to revise the Articles of Confederation and make the document more powerful and create a government much more stable.
You'd have called that there should be a larger meeting held at Philadelphia in which they would meet to the proposal really was to amend the Articles of Confederation. So they ended up, I mean, you know, when the convention was underway, the one at Philadelphia, particularly the Virginia and the Pennsylvania delegates got together and they began to plan for a much more radical change.
The delegates traveled to Pennsylvania from all across the country to do just that. And on May 25th, 1787, the Constitutional Convention, with 55 delegates, began. The 55 delegates sat at the Independence Hall for months on end debating. For many matters, it didn't seem like they could establish anything. James Madison and the other delegates from Virginia had drafted a plan, suitably named the Virginia Plan, for correcting the Articles of Confederation. This document stated that there shall be 3 branches of government: executive, judicial, and legislative. Exactly, the United States government is run today. However, the conflict heated up on one branch, the legislative. The delegates had varied opinions on how the representation in Congress should play out. The Virginia Plan stated that the number of representatives from each state who would help make the laws would be determined by the population of each state.
It essentially proposed a more national, consolidated government that it would, and it also provided for one, as I recall, that would have a popularly elected Congress, you know, but then that Congress would in turn help choose a Senate and help choose a president or a body that would have executive power. I don't think necessarily. So it was one which really looked towards. It would empower the states with the biggest populations, and guess which that one was.
This favored the large states with high population, and the small states, like New Jersey, would not benefit as much. William Patterson, a delegate from New Jersey, proposed the New Jersey, or small state plan, which provided for equal representation in Congress, which meant that every state had the same amount of representatives in the House. There was only going to be one House in Congress.
That, I mean, Virginia, for example, had more higher population, especially if you included the slave population, a higher population than about 3 or 4 of the smaller states, like Rhode Island or Delaware and so on put together, so that the small states would really lose the power that they had under the Articles of Confederation when they had a one state, one vote that made them equal in power or ability to block change than Virginia. So and also they were kind of shocked that the Virginia plan was so radical, because they hadn't been expecting that they'd been expecting some minor amendments to the Articles of Confederation, but instead this big plan was dropped on them.
The conflict was deadlocked, and no plan seemed to appeal to the majority. Then, Richard Sherman of Connecticut proposes a plan called the Connecticut Plan. Working with Benjamin Franklin, Richard Sherman stated that in the Connecticut Plan there would be 2 houses, one which had proportional representation and one which had equal representation. The Connecticut Plan gave both large and small states the power they wanted in the United States government, and with a slim majority was voted on by the convention. The Connecticut Plan sorted out the crucial conflict that defined the way the United States governed, and is suitably named the Great Compromise. When the idea of a totally new government reached the people, many citizens were skeptical. They wondered if this new constitution could make anything better. However, as time went on, they found the Constitution provided a government that made the United States a better place. They thought it had made things much more efficient than under the Articles of Confederation. There was a certain political party who loved the Constitution. These people were the Federalists. There was also a party that opposed the Federalists and loathed the new Constitution. These were the Anti-Federalists. This divide between the two parties led to many debates and fights later on. It could be said that the Great Compromise led to more conflicts. Many changes were made to the constitutions in the years after its ratification. However, by 1791, 10 amendments had been created. These were called the Bill of Rights. They stated the rights that every citizen of the United States had. Over the decades and centuries to come, the citizens of the states realized that there were many changes that needed to be made to the Constitution. For instance, slavery was something that needed to be fixed, along with women's voting rights and quite a few other things. Amendments were made to fix these problems, and once many of these flaws were fixed, it became something for Americans to be proud of and boosted confidence in the government. The Constitutional Convention of 1787 was filled with conflicts and compromises. However, the conflict of the Virginia and New Jersey plans was paramount to the government of the United States. The plans conflicted on the number of representatives every state would get in Congress. The compromise that settled this debate was the Connecticut Plan. This stated that there would be proportional representation and equal representation in Congress. This gave both the sides of the conflict a reasonable compromise, and became to be known as the Great Compromise. Because of this plan, the United States of America has become a world power, satisfying its citizens while majorly impacting the world. Definitely, the Great Compromise lived up to its name.